Bold 3 Detergent Plus Fabric Softener. Spray. Relief.
Wait! Do you like magic? Do you like spooky things? Do you have trouble thinking for yourself and need an anamorphic moose to tell you what to do? Then do I have the commander for you. Introducing... Are your magic games going on a little too long? Are your opponent's decks forcing you to play meta cards? It's simple. Imprison your opponents in their own minds with this one simple... Whoa, I'm getting ahead of myself. Is a 3-blue Nightmare 10-1 that is unblockable. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent, prevent that damage and each opponent mills that many cards.
Okay, what the hell is this piece of...
Hold it there, Jack. That's why you need me, because this card's power isn't inherently obvious to the common commander player. You see, you're probably thinking, why would I play a card that trades my opponent's 40 life for 100? That sounds like a bad deal, and trust me, I know a thing or two about those. You're gonna want to play this card for the same reason Siphus keeps bringing the same stone up the hill. Because you want purpose, and not just any purpose. You want your opponents to view you like a rabid dog that can't be reasoned with. Its sole satisfaction comes from watching your opponents put cards in their graveyard. We don't do it because it's optimal, we do it because it's fun. Now this old fella is gonna need some help, so we'll be suiting this nightmare up with some powerful equipment, real state-of-the-art stuff. Then we'll give him some damage support that isn't combat damage reliant, throw in a few mill cards and other crap, and she's good to go. All at the low price of an HP DeskJet 2855E wireless all-in-one color inkjet printer. Or you could buy the cards normally. Now before I let you go back to the boring stuff like talking about the cards, I want to invite you to my Halloween event coming on the 30th of this month. I'll be giving away 4 decks to 4 lucky viewers, so don't miss out.
Okay, time to talk cards, and the first thing we're going to talk about are the mill cards. These cards keep in line with our plan to empty everyone's library. Maniac Scribe is a repeatable source of mill. We just have to get Delirium, but we do have some cards that mill everyone, so that can help us in that endeavor. Vantress Gargoyle is mainly here as an early flying blocker, but it does technically mill, and the 5 damage can be relevant once our commander is out. Bruvrak the Grand Delinquent is the deck's most important card. Other than our commander, this doubles most of our mill, except in a few cases. And we also have a few combo kills we can pull off with this card. Riddle Keeper is here to incentivize token players from attacking us, hopefully buying us more time, or at the very least a good mill trigger. Zelix's Sanity Flare gives us some value for our mill and comes with small mill itself. Also, it's not in the deck, but an Altar of the Brood is a sweet inclusion with this card. Dreamborn Muse is some of the universal mill I was talking about earlier, and it's a great way to punish any draw-heavy decks. Fleet Swallower is part of our half the library cards, and what's great and also not so great about this at the same time is the ability is stapled to a creature. So it's repeatable, but it's fragile. Fink's Mindbreaker is an expensive creature that comes with some evasion that can help with our mill with damage strategy, and it also has an ETB that we can use with our clone cards to mill even more cards. Torizian Mindbreaker is a better Fleet Swallower simply because it can be unearthed for cheaper and attack immediately. Increasing Confusion, Drown in Dreams, and Fractured Sanity are all simple spells that mill our opponents, with the difference between them being in their utility and repeatability. Maddening Cacophony, Traumatize, and Cut Your Losses are all spells that mill half of the opponent's library, Maddening Cacophony being the best out of the bunch since it's each opponent instead of targeted. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is an awesome spell that can exile as many as 18 to 3 cards, really depending on the deck you're exiling from, but the spell is still worth playing because it's permanently exiling those cards for as little as 3 mana. Startled Awake is a repeatable source of mill, and this card has a soft spot in my heart as my friend used to play this card versus me all the time in Standard, and I absolutely hated it, but if you're looking for cuts, then I'd start here. Archive Trap is a classic mill card that punishes a format with fetch lands, and we're aiming to do the same thing in this deck. Psychic Spiral is some insurance on our side in case we feel that we've burned through too much of our deck. This card will allow us to shuffle everything back and mill our opponents at the same time. Depending on how late the game is or who you're playing against, this card can mill a lot. Mindcrank does what our commander does, but better since any life loss can make our opponents mill, letting our opponents help us out as well. Fraying Sanity works as a backup Bruvrak that can only affect one player, but the ability to one-shot someone with a big mill trigger is too good to pass up on. Memory Erosion is a simple way for us to get our opponents to start milling, and it can be really strong depending on the commanders you're playing against. Psychic Corrosion and Finks' Tutelage mill players when we draw, and you can add more wheels to the deck to further support that strategy. Okay, with the first major part of our deck covered, let's talk about the state-of-the-art equipment. We're going to buff our commander to try and increase the amount of damage he deals because the damage gets converted into milled cards. Enter the Enigma is a strange start to things, but this card is not intended for our commander, but rather cards like Fleet Swallower or one of our other big attackers, as we'll need to connect with them as well and keep them alive at the same time. Commander's Plate hands out some good protection while giving a sizable buff to our commander. Champion's Helm for the buff along with the Hexproof for our commander, which in any strategy trying to load one creature with buffs is gonna need it. Lava Spur Boots, Lightning Greaves, and Swiftfoot Boots all give haste for quick mill triggers with our commander and varying forms of protection, with Lava Spur Boots being the worst. Fire Shrieker is a sweet way for us to speed up our clock by giving our commander double strike. Trepidation Blade can lead to some nasty mill triggers, just really depends on how lucky your opponent is at hitting lands. I've seen this card only mill 1 card or 12, it really kind of is all over the place, but it's still fun. Bonehorde is a nice equipment because it can be played on its own to give us a large creature or equipped to our commander for massive mill triggers. And with how much mill we're doing, this equipment should easily be a plus 20 power for our commander. Brass Knuckles is another way to give double strike out, although you do have to jump through a little bit of a hoop because you have to equip both pieces. But with how much equipment we're playing, it shouldn't be a real issue. Mjolnir Storm Hammer is an interesting equipment that we're playing in hopes of milling lots of players at once with our commander. Now this does require some tapped creatures, so hopefully people are swinging at each other in your game. Il Umbra is cheap protection for our commander, ideally versus board wipes, because hopefully we've already given him hexproof with our other equipment. This next section is really important because these cards are here to keep us alive and stop our opponents from messing with our graveyard we're giving them. Arcane Denial, Counterspell, and Long River's Pull are some cheap and simple counterspells with small differences. Didn't Say Please and Thought Collapse are our mill counterspells, with Soulless Jailer stopping some graveyard strategies, Graft Digger's Cage covers more ground than just the graveyard, Relic of Progenitus gives us a way to exile graveyards, and Propaganda incentivizes people to not attack us because no one likes paying taxes. Let's talk ramp really fast and then follow it up with our value cards. So the ramp for this deck is exceedingly small, but our commander is very cheap, so our mana rocks are Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and Thought Vessel. Sapphire Medallion, Mindstone, and Midnight Clock for the extra card draw later in the game. Now for the value cards, these cards either get us extra damage or copy creatures. Jace's Phantasm is a cheap early creature that can help us with our mill strategy after one swing with our commander. Charix the Raging Isle can take advantage of our mono-colored mana base to deal massive damage that hopefully means more cards milled. Giggling Skitter Spike is a mana sink, but it's worth it if our commander is out, as we can really get a lot of cards flowing with it. And Indestructible Blocker is always nice. Shadowkin mills players and gives us a way to do some crazy stuff depending on what creatures are milled. If we're lucky, we mill our Fleet Swallower this way, and then we can swing in to mill half of someone's library. Spark Double can copy our commander to get 2 triggers for even more mill. Autumn Soldier is basically a more expensive Spark Double, but for the trouble it comes with Myriad, which makes things crazy because our commander could then trigger multiple times. Undead Alchemist is another way for us to build an army of blockers, and exiling the creature cards is very important. And of course we can use the zombies we make to apply more damage and more mill, but the magic rule 6161F, I know, a mouthful, but it does apply here. Luckily for us though, both the replacement effects do the exact same thing. Mirelurk Queen is a source of card draw while giving us a decently sized body to swing with. Stuffy Doll is our ultimate form of defense, as swinging at us without a trampling creature could mean a massive mill trigger from our commander. Windfall to replace any bad hands we have, and this card gets pretty good with our draw and mill enchantments. Quantum Misalignment is another way for us to get multiple copies of our commander. Just remember to swing your copies at different opponents. Nth of Mishra, because no deck is complete without a way to punish the landfall menace and commander, but on a serious note, this is another way for us to get non-combat damage for more mill triggers with our commander. For the mana base, just use islands, and seriously this time, that's the mana base. My recommended land for this deck is Maze of Ith to help keep us alive, as us middle players must always live in fear of being oppressed by the table. For the combo section, I'll show you perhaps one of the simplest combo kills possible in Magic. All we need is Bruvac, the Grand Delinquent, and the card Maddening Cacophony. Once Bruvac is on the battlefield and we have enough mana to cast and kick Maddening Cacophony, we simply do just that, and mill all of our opponent's libraries completely, since Maddening Cacophony hits the first half and Bruvac gets the rest. Thanks for getting this far in the video, and I hope you enjoyed my take on the Mindskinner. Let me know how I did, or tell me about your favorite mill card in the comments below. Subscribe to get updated when I upload next, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.